Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this is the Kawasaki Ninja 400. In this video, we're going to give you a walk-around review of it. We're going to talk about why it's really good, whether you're a beginner, which is where a lot of people like to put this bike, right up to if you're an experienced rider, and we're going to talk about a little bit of the history that goes into making this bike really good. But before we start, we got to thank Jim Gilbert's Power Sports. Jim Gilbert's Power Sports is here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. They give me access to their entire line of power sports, used vehicles, new vehicles. So subscribe to this channel if you're interested in Kawasaki, Piaggio, Vespa, Pedigo e-bikes, any kind of fairly new used vehicles, because we will have full, complete reviews. And the bigger thing is, if you have a question about this bike that maybe I didn't answer in this video, I can get back to it and answer it in a future video. And if you are interested in the Z400, hey, we film in Canada, it's the Z400, we'll do a comparison of the Ninja 400 with the Z400 or Z400 as well, coming up soon. So another reason to subscribe. All right, let's get into the review. Making a really good lighter weight sport bike is not easy, and the history of this bike explains why it's so good. So, little history lesson. I'm sorry, it's gonna get interesting in a second. History lesson. When I was younger, they had the Ninja 250. This is in the 80s into the 90s. The Ninja 250 was a small bike, 250cc, that everyone loved. Now it revved up to like 14,000 RPM. This one revs up to 12,000 RPM redline. And it was just a bike that everybody loved, whether you were experienced or not. And it was because it was a blast to drive around the track, a blast to drive around town. And we'll talk about why in a second. The complaint against the Ninja 250 was that it didn't have enough power, so they came out with the Ninja 500, which was actually the EX 500, later became the Ninja 500R, which was actually my first sport bike. I love smaller sport bikes, but there was a bit of a problem with the Ninja 500 as well. Although faster, it lost some of the character of the lighter, more nimbler, high-revving 250. So those bikes went on their way, they lasted many years, the Ninja 500 sold very well, Ninja 250 sold well, and they moved on. More recently, Kawasaki introduced the Ninja 300 to try to capture that 250 kind of flair. And let's be blunt, it was a good bike, but it wasn't Kawasaki's best effort. They came back with the 400, and this thing is incredible. The 400 is lighter than that previous 300, and it has more power. And the first question I get asked about this bike is, well, wait a minute, is it really fast enough? Can I go highway speeds and beyond? And one thing you should recognize is, yes, it's fast enough. It goes about 200 kilometers an hour, give or take. I've never taken it there, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube showing it going that fast. So you have the power here, but you retain the lightweight and the handling. So sometimes I like to refer to bikes in the context as a lot of people understand, which is cars. This is not your Porsche 911. This is more your Mazda Miata, Mini Cooper S, or Mini Cooper S John Cooper Works, or Subaru BRZ if you're Canadian, that kind of thing. Cars that are a blast to drive, but not about all-out top speed and all-out horsepower. This one's got plenty of horsepower to be fun, but the thing that makes it fun in town is exactly what made that 250 fun in town back in the 80s and 90s. You can rev it through the gears and stay relatively legal. You can certainly go beyond legal speeds, but that's the fun of owning a motorcycle. Most Kawasaki sport bikes, by second gear, and many times in first gear, you're well beyond the legal highway limit. And what makes a bike fun to ride is having that flickable turning capabilities, the lighter weight, and a nice revving engine that doesn't overpower itself. Switching through the gears, it teaches you to be a better rider. Now, if you want to take this out to the track, you could. There's plenty of options online where I can show you how you can tweak up the suspension to make it a really good track bike, but there's a rumor Kawasaki's coming out with a 4-cylinder 400 as well, which is going to be a super sport bike and will be an absolute track king. This is a road bike, a road sport bike, and it's excellent. So now we're gonna take a look at some of the features on this bike. We'll talk about some of the details that make it really good, not just for beginners, but also for longtime riders. First thing I want to talk about is the slipper and assist clutch. Now, you can see most clutch levers you can't pull in with your pinky. I can pull this in with my pinky. It's a very light clutch, which makes it easy to modulate, easy to use exactly where you need to use it. You can find that grab point, and it's one of the key features in this bike. A slipper and assist clutch is a great thing for a street bike, and it's moved its way into other bikes. It's not just a beginner type feature. So what it does is, When it's an assist, basically it means that the clutch is lighter. It kind of assists you a little bit. There's a way it works, and that's a whole other video, but it makes it lighter. In a vehicle that you're driving around town that doesn't have insane racetrack level power, you're going to be shifting through, and it makes it a pleasure. If you're stuck in traffic and you're releasing that clutch and on the clutch, releasing the clutch and on the clutch, it makes it easier. But the bigger thing is that slipper clutch. When you're driving this thing athletically, if you miss a shift a little bit, sometimes you have trouble exactly rev matching that downshift. On a regular bike, your rear tire can skid out a little bit. It can create a bit of a scary feeling. If you mess up your downshift on this, it allows a little bit of slip to keep to help prevent your rear wheel from slipping, locking, sliding, and that kind of thing. It makes it really, really safe to drive, but it's also a bike that can really teach you to drive as a better sport bike rider because you feel every experience. So that slipper assist clutch makes it lighter in traffic, makes it safer when you're driving athletically, and that makes it more fun because it gives you a little bit more assurance. Speaking of more fun, this bike also has ABS. ABS brakes are really good on a bike. They're required in many areas, but on this thing, if you ever get driving in the rain, you know, you're grabbing your front brake, grabbing your rear brake. Sometimes you don't do it perfectly when you're a new rider, or let's be honest, even if you're an experienced rider, ABS brakes will help keep those wheels from locking, and it's really good to have. The other technology piece that you'll see on the Kawasaki website is this has an eco light. It's just literally, it's not even a light, it's just a display that shows you that you're driving economically, which is just good to know. Hey, you know, maybe you can shift up, shift down, that kind of thing, and keep it in the rev range. Let's look at the controls, the dash, everything else, and then we'll talk about seating position, and we'll talk about why that really matters in a bike like this. I want to talk a little bit about safety features and styling while we're out front. First of all of this is styled to look like a top-end sport bike. You've got that kind of, you know, top-end Ninja kind of look. These are LED lights, so they used to do sort of non-LED lights, and one headlight would be on, one would be off unless you had your high beams on. Both of these are on. It looks cooler, but having both LED lights allows them to have a good spread with that white, bright LED light, which I really like when I'm driving. Down here, you've got, again, styling and function. You do have the ABS label here. These are ABS brakes. That's what this little thing right here is. It can sense every time the wheel spins. It can sense going through those holes. It kind of sends a sensor through those holes. That shows you that you have ABS here, and you've got the pedal style rotors here. So these are large rotors. It's only a single rotor on the front. A lot of the sport bikes will have the double rotor, but it allows you to have a single large rotor, which is partly styling but partly function. Also, the pedals on there, they dissipate heat. The holes, the drilled rotors, they dissipate heat. So some of that is going to be for styling on a bike like this 400. They're not going to get crazy, crazy hot, but it's capable of getting hot. It's capable of dealing with that heat simply because of the design. The Nissan calipers here. So again, sport bike styling, but good safety. Good discs in the rear as well. And again, those LED lights, LED taillight and brake light really are good. They're off right now just because they don't film all that great. But safety in brakes, safety in lighting really makes a difference. And I should point out the tires while we're here. You have proper sport or sport touring type tires. Depends on what you want to use, then you can always choose to upgrade. So again, there's a good variety of tires available in this size. They are 17-inch rims, so that does give you that full tire size that you're looking for. And they're nice, fairly sticky tires for what this is. You don't have to get them really hot to be sticky. They are sort of in town, designed for this style of bike, not something where you get on a hyper sports bike where you gotta really warm up the tires to get the grip. You have the grip here. You still want to warm up your tires a little bit, but you have good grip throughout the whole thing. The whole package is just well designed. All right, I'm battling some sunshine today, but I think we found an angle that kind of works without having too much glare on the dash. We'll turn the vehicle to on. You can see the dash kind of come to life. I'm a big fan of a mix between digital gauges and an analog tach. I know it sounds old school to have an analog tach, but you'll watch, even on the digital bikes, they show some version of analog tach because you don't really care about the number. You kind of look where the line is. This revs right up to 12,000 RPM. You'll see some flickering on the camera. That doesn't flicker in person. It's just the interaction between this and the bike. Speedometer over on the right side. Very large gear indicator on the center here. Now, Kawasaki didn't always do gear indicators. It's really good on a beginner bike, but it's also really good for just experienced riders to know exactly what gear you're in. You got a 6-speed transmission here. It's in neutral right now. Warning lights on the side. So clear, easy to read, that's what you want. At a glance, you know your speed. At a glance, you know your gear, and at a glance, you know where you're revving. You've got fuel efficiency, trip odometer, other types of things down there. Fairly basic dash for a modern bike, but nice and advanced dash compared to bikes from just a couple years ago. Left side, simple high beam, low beam, signals, and cancel, and of course the horn, which is quite loud, which is what you want. Right side, kill switch and start, and that's about it. And you do have the clip-ons here, so you get that sport bike feel from in the cockpit. So riding position is a really important thing on a sport bike. You want it to be athletic, you want to be in good control when you're on the bike, but you also need it to be comfortable. So I'm about 6 feet tall. When I sit tight to the tank, I put my legs up here. They're a little bit wind protected through the fairing here. You've got that nice sort of inset here. You've got plenty of room to have taller legs, and you're set back on a sport bike angle, but not crunched down like this. You're just in a comfortable upright riding position. Whether you're short or tall, this bike works. I'm easily flat-footed as a 6-footer. You would easily be able to ride this if you were much shorter than me. In fact, I know many people who have this bike who are shorter than me. It's just not a problem. Now, what I like is even at 6 feet, I can stretch out. I can get back in the seat. I can tuck tighter in here, and it's a very comfortable tuck position. So that's really important. Remember, this bike is not really designed as a race bike in any way. It's designed for an on-street performance bike. You want to be comfortable upright in town, but when you get moving and you want to start to learn how to really drive a sport bike, you can get in that tuck position comfortably. So that's a really important thing that they do well. The other thing is the mirrors are not here on your handlebars, of course. They're out here, and they're really wide set. Safety is a big thing on a bike, a sport bike. You can always do your shoulder checks, but having these mirrors set out wide, I see none. I see a hair of my arm just on the inside here, but it really gives you a good view around yourself. So again, new riders like to have that visibility, but every rider likes to have that visibility. So when we're talking about the Ninja 400, it really is a bike that you can use every day for comfort. You can easily drive this as your everyday commute. The seat is firm, but it's wide enough that it's comfortable. Again, you can take a passenger. Don't know how much you'll be doing that. If you do want to take a passenger, the rear shocks are preload adjustable, so you can stiffen them up a little bit and just dial it in perfectly. But as an in-town, around-town bike, it's a comfortable bike. And as a sport bike, you've got room, even as a 6-footer, even as a shorter person, to really tuck down and get in place. It's just kind of that perfect mix. It's the kind of bike where you can learn and develop your skills on without getting too much bike for what you can handle. And the reality is, for most of us, we think we're better riders than we are. This is a bike that you can really grow with, and it's a great first bike that you don't have to get rid of. If you want to sell it and get your next bike, that's an option. If you want to keep it and have a different style bike, it's great. A lot of people will keep this around as the sport bike in their lineup because unless you're going to the track, you don't need much more performance than this. It is absolutely a blast to drive. So what about this and the Z400 or Z400 if you're not from Canada? What are the differences? Well, that is a great reason to subscribe. We're gonna have a comparison review of this with that Z400 coming up soon on this channel, so make sure you subscribe because there are some differences why you may want one over the other, and we'll talk about that. And that's the blessing of being able to work here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals and Jim Gilbert's Power Sports. They are Canada's huggable car dealer. They are absolutely amazing. They took on the Kawasaki line just a few years ago and became the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country. They do that because they take care of their customers really well, and they allow me to have full access so I can tell you all about these bikes, all about the differences. I'm a huge fan of Kawasaki bikes. I don't just wear the shirt for the videos. I wear the shirt because I love the brand. These are great, great bikes. And again, if you have questions, let me know in the comments below because we can take your questions, turn them into videos, and help a whole bunch of other people. So subscribe to our channel. We'll do a riding review sometime in the future, but right now we just want to do the walk around view and continue from there. So thanks everybody for watching. And remember, if you're looking in the Fredericton and Maritimes area, you're looking for a Kawasaki, there are a whole bunch of Kawasaki Ninja 400s in stock right now at time of filming. There's Z400s here as well, a lot of them. So if you want any different color, you can get the colors as well, and you can swing by. Thanks everybody for watching.